Welcome to the latest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. In today's video, we've got multiple news items from yesterday's Cup Series race at Martinsville, including some surprising remarks from Dale Earnhardt Jr. about Carson Hocevar and his future. Before we get to those interesting comments, let's first talk about yesterday's overall race at the Paperclip. First, I know I have written numerous articles in the past where fans and drivers have been critical on the short track package with the next-gen car. It's consistently been a struggle with single file racing on short tracks since the car debuted last year. NASCAR has repeatedly insisted that it's committed to improving the racing product on the short circuits. After watching yesterday, I'm definitely not suggesting that the problem is solved, but I think the race showed that they've taken a step in the right direction with Goodyear using a softer tire. Passing was limited in that first stage, with NBC actually missing the first pass because it was in a commercial break. But there was more where that came from. At one point in the second stage, Ryan Blaney, who had the fastest car all day, reeled in and passed Denny Hamlin, on the outside no less. There were other moments throughout the race where drivers were able to pass throughout the field. Again, it's not fixed completely, but I'm definitely encouraged by what I saw, and it gives me hope for improved short track racing in 2024. Speaking of Hamlin, we'll talk more about him in a few, but I first wanted to discuss his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate, Martin Truex Jr. The 2017 champ started on the pole and did so with a couple of new members on his pit crew. Before the race, it was announced that the Jackman and the rear tire changer were new additions from other teams. For those who've been paying attention, you know that this has become a common practice at JGR. In fact, Christopher Bell's current pit crew worked with Ty Gibbs throughout the regular season and was switched over for the playoffs. While the number 20 car is in the championship four, that switch hasn't gone as smoothly as officials would have hoped, with multiple slow stops on pit road. Truex had a similar experience on Sunday. The new Jackman had trouble on one stop where the jack unexpectedly dropped not once, but twice. It was an ugly blunder that set the team back a few spots, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been because, unfortunately, the driver had already sent the car to the back after committing a massive mistake in speeding on pit road. My observation is this: JGR has had issues on pit road for the last several years. That has resulted in numerous pit crew changes, and oftentimes they don't work out with the new members. It makes me think that top officials might need to start giving their pit crew selection and training process a closer look. You know, address the root cause of the issue instead of putting a Band-Aid on it. Moving on and moving back to Denny. It's a story you likely saw during the race, when Joey Logano got really aggressive at the start of the final stage and drove into the rear of the number 54 car multiple times. The last time, the momentum sending it into the rear of the number 11 of Hamlin, who was in front. Hamlin was understandably unhappy about the move and voiced his displeasure over the team radio. After the race, the three-time Daytona 500 winner went into more detail with SiriusXM NASCAR Radio's Claire B. Lang. Take a listen.
Listen, I was mad. I'm in the car. I'm angry because us in the 12 we're in a position we deserve to race that race out, and I thought, in my opinion, Logano was out of bounds, knocking cars out of the way, trying to knock us out of the way. Like, I don't know. If the roles were reversed, he would have a giant problem with it. And I just thought it was disrespectful to the guys that had earned their position up there and the guys that were, trying to make it into the Final Four. I just think there could be a little better respect for the guys up there for that.
Ty Gibbs was caught in the middle of it all and was really the victim of the situation. Interestingly, that wasn't the only time he was on the receiving end of aggressive driving. It happened again later in the race with another young driver, Carson Hocevar. Except this incident was much more egregious, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. broke it down on the broadcast before sending a warning shot to the 20-year-old driver.
So Ty Gibbs maybe moves him out of the way right here. Pretty simple. Martinsville racing. Now we're going to go down into turn 1. Hocevar is going to go into the back. And watch this. I'm going to hook you. Wow. And we know that Hocevar has a habit of doing that. And I think he's trying to work on it. But when you come into the Cup Series and do that, you're going to get some hard lessons from these guys. Because, you know, there's not a lot of people going to stand up to you in the Truck Series or Xfinity Series. But this Cup Series is a little bit different.
I'm really curious to see if NASCAR does anything about it and penalizes Hocevar for the move. As Junior mentioned, this isn't the first time Hocevar has done that. He's got a track record. Will the sanctioning body, which made it clear last year with Bubba Wallace at Las Vegas and earlier this year with Chase Elliott at Charlotte in the Coca-Cola 600, that it wasn't going to tolerate drivers intentionally wrecking another car and hooking them, as was the case on Sunday, do anything about it? The only thing that makes me think they won't is because it was on a short track and not a violent crash, as was the case in the other 2 incidents mentioned. I just wish, for consistency's sake, they would penalize him and say, it doesn't matter what kind of track, if it's a hook as clear as it was, then it's a penalty. Period. We'll see what NASCAR has to say tomorrow. What do you think? Will Hocevar be penalized for the move? And I want to know what you think about Joey Logano's move with Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin. Fair or foul? Also, what do you think about JGR's latest pit crew swap with Martin Truex? Do you think they might need to reconsider their pit crew selection and training processes? And lastly, let me know your thoughts on the overall racing product at Martinsville. Did you think it was a better race than what we've seen in the past from the next-gen car on short tracks? Let me know in the comments section. All right, guys, that's all for today. Thanks as always for checking out the latest video. We'll see you in the next one, and have a great rest of your day.